welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So today I am actually burning a candle for, this is to help during the Mercury retrograde. It's got a lot of holiday spices, cloves, anise, some bay leaves, and some oils. So I am already burning this candle in order to kind of alleviate any symptoms you might be having from the Mercury retrograde. So if you would like to go ahead and set your intention, I have already cleared and created a ritual space in the creation of this candle and its burning, and I invite you to take part in that. So if you like, you can take some deep breaths. Hi Eve, it's so good to see you. I do really appreciate you dropping by, and I totally understand. I'm glad to hear that your work is busy, but I'm also glad to hear that you might have a little more time to yourself in the upcoming days. So we're going to be doing the fire signs today, which is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And the cards I will be using this week is the Jack-o'-lantern tarot, which I really, really love. I love the illustrations in this deck. So I'm going to go ahead and shuffle, and we're going to start with the sign of Aries. And Aries, if you would like, go ahead and set your intention. Allow any thoughts or concerns you have that you would like to address during the reading today to gently float up into the forefront of your thoughts and wait there patiently while I shuffle the cards. Now, if any of these things that you are concerned about are causing you stress or anxiety, I invite you to gently breathe through that energy, Aries. Take a deep breath and draw down into your body the divine white light of Source with each incoming breath. And then as you exhale, just release any of that tension or stress or anxiety. It will be returned to Source, and it will be transmuted. So let's get started. And let me write down your timestamp. Okay. So we will start in the past for you, Aries. We have quite a few wands coming out for you in the current situation. And some court cards at that. And here in the past, we have the Two of Wands. So this card is upright. There's been a lot of planning going on for you, Aries. This could be planning a trip, because we do have the globe here, can be looking at a map. We have off in the distance some mountains. So you are preparing for any obstacles that might come your way. Now we have the sun going down over the horizon. So this planning process is going on during the last little glimpses of daylight. We do have the moon also overhead, and as you, I'm sure, have seen, sometimes in the daytime sky, the moon is fully visible. So this planning process is carrying you into the current situation. Let's look some more at that. The card in the place of the significator is the Eight of Pentacles. This is a card of long-term career success, that you've been doing something for a very long time. You're very established in this field, and you have a lot of experience with it. So it could be even investments. The Eight of Pentacles can be several income streams coming in for you. The Eight of Pentacles could be the maturation of a retirement account as well. Not everybody is still in their field, their career. And some of you might not have started a career yet. This would be a long-term project that you've worked on for a long time. Maybe you've been a knitter since you were very small. Could be something like that. Maybe you've always been fascinated and studied a particular thing. This is crossed by a very different kind of energy with the Fool card here. So the Fool is an energy related to beginnings. It is elemental air energy, so is also associated with the planet Uranus. And by proxy, a little bit Aquarius, but mostly this is a card of air energy and the planet Uranus. We see again where we had that Two of Wands in the past. We see those same mountain ranges in the background. But of course, the Fool is a very different kind of energy. The Two of Wands, there's a progression in a very orderly fashion. Everything is being planned. There's a surveying before one takes a step. But here, with the Fool card, he's not looking. This figure's not looking where they're going. They have this trusted dog companion who, in fact, is kind of nipping at the heels of this comical fool figure. And one might take that to mean that the dog is very loyal, but also that it feels the need to get the attention of its master. And that's why it's biting the heel. Now, what this could indicate for you, Aries, is not that you're the one who is so out of control, but that you are trying to maintain this order in your life, and you are operating in an environment where there's a lack of foresight. And this could be at a job, management. It could be in a living situation. If you've been in a particular living situation for a long time, and perhaps those around you, maybe the neighborhood is getting more chaotic, or even that people that you live with might be getting careless about things. So, Aries, I don't think that you are the one necessarily embodying this fool energy, but I do think that it is influencing you in the current situation. And with this Eight of Pentacles, it would be possibly a new beginning. And so it's difficult to plan. That you've been doing this thing for a long time, and now a cycle has completed within that framework, and now there's a new beginning coming in. So there's a few different ways that you could read that. I'm going to trust you to apply it in the way that you think fits the best, Aries. So now we're going to go down to the MMCLI. And the MMCLI is right here below the significator, and it indicates the origins and foundations upon which the midheaven, that's going to be the goal or destiny that we look at up here above the significator. All of the things upon which that goal or destiny will be built. And this is another one of our wand cards in this reading, Aries. We have the King of Wands. And this figure is, this would be air of fire energy. So air is one of the active elements. Fire is an active element. The King of Wands is able to apply rational thought to creative application. Organizing and strategizing creative projects from beginning to end. Now we have this King of Wands coming out in the reverse here. So that could be potentially kind of a chaotic energy to have to deal with, Aries. That we have this Fool card here, and maybe this person is not a very effective leader. The King of Wands in the reverse can also indicate somebody who has a violent temper. So I do hope that you're not dealing with that at this time, Aries. It does look a bit like a situation where there's some kind of authority figure in a situation that you've been part of for a long time. This might even be a father if you are living at home with family. That could be an Eight of Pentacles situation. But it could be a job where the King of Wands could maybe be a supervisor who either would have a violent temper, or perhaps they are somebody who's too scattered to really be effective, and they're not willing to ground themselves to take better advantage of that creative energy. And that's creating a lot of chaos in your situation. Oh, I guess the card won't focus. That's okay. But you have been putting some plans into motion with that Two of Wands in the past. So, from your perspective, we have the Three of Wands. And this Three of Wands indicates that you do see things returning to you from the past. Energies that you put out into the world are now growing and coming to fruition. Crops becoming ready to harvest. We see this ship out on the horizon, and shipping by the water is always a little fraught with danger, even in the modern era. It can take longer, and sometimes when there are problems, shipments don't make it. But I do see that at this time, your ships are returning to you. So energies that you've put out into the world, Aries, now you're seeing them return threefold. And that has to do with this planning that you did in the past. Absolutely. From an outside person's perspective, looking in on the situation, we have the Queen of Wands, and she is showing up in the reverse. Now, the Queen of Wands can be somebody who has a tendency toward gossip. She could be somebody who lacks confidence. Sometimes cattiness and gossip come from a place of wanting to be social, but not having a lot of confidence in one's own pursuits, and feeling the need to gossip about other people to try to be interesting. Now, somebody could be seeing you from this point of view, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's how you're coming off to everyone. It could be that you are voicing your concerns about the chaos that's created by this King of Wands energy in the reverse in the situation. And because of that, that person might think that you're being gossipy, when in fact, you're concerned, and rightly so, about certain situations that are going on. Now, here in the future, we further see that Two of Wands energy, that Three of Wands energy coming into fruition with the Chariot card here. And this card is a Cancerian card, so perhaps you also have Cancer placements prominently in your chart. You might want to see what house Cancer falls into for you. The Chariot card, we have a lot of mobility here. The horses are kind of, the white horse here is not focused totally on the goal of going forward. The white horse is interested in trying to pester the companion, the black horse here. And I do think that the driver might notice this a bit. He has a hand on the reins, or they have a hand on the reins, but they're not taking any action specifically yet. Because the Chariot card is a card of victory, and that victory is assured. So this card showing up for you in the future in the upright is indicating that victory lies ahead for you, and that is going to be whatever this is that you have been planning around. Now, if we look at your hopes and fears, Aries, we have the we have the Page of Cups. I don't know why I almost said Two of Cups. Page of Cups is an offering. So we see this fish skeleton in the chalice. The fish in cartomancy can represent money. So it can be a gift of money. It can be a gift of romance. And we see that this page is kind of adventurously standing on these pumpkins that are in the middle of this kind of pond here. And again, like we've seen on some of these other cards, we have those mountains in the background, which can represent obstacles being overcome or obstacles that need to be overcome. And I think the offer is what you perceive to be something that would help you overcome an obstacle. Now, the Page of Cups can be a very young person as well, a very young water sign person, but can also represent the pages are earth energy, and the cups, of course, are water energy. So the pages represent things being brought down into the material, the physical plane. So there might be some kind of emotional aspect to this as well. And those emotions being pulled and brought down and manifested, possibly desire. Desire is a very strong emotion and is not necessarily the best emotion for manifestation. But the Page of Cups represents a kind of a wish fulfillment. Not exactly like the Nine of Cups. The Nine of Cups is like all of your wishes coming true and everything involved in that. But the Page of Cups is somebody offering you something that perhaps moves you toward wish fulfillment or accomplishes part of that wish fulfillment. And that is what you are hoping for. And that is in opposition in the reading to the Three of Wands here, where you are starting to see positive outcome to the energies that you've put out into the world. So now we're going to look at the midheaven. And the midheaven is the outcome of what is going on here with this King of Wands. And remember, I said the King of Wands can be somebody who's got a very volatile temper, perhaps wants to be an effective leader, but maybe doesn't have the practical side in line, that they're more focused on the creativity behind things and don't have the follow through required. And the outcome of that is the world in reverse. So we have the four fixed signs on the corners of the card, representing that grounding effect. This is a card associated with earth sign energy and also with with Saturn. It's earth energy and then Saturnian energy also. So very fixed, very stable. This is a solid foundation. And where we see it showing up in the reverse, it doesn't mean that there won't be a conclusion to this or that the ending is not going to occur. But because the foundation of this particular situation is not particularly stable, remember we've got the Fool card crossing the significator, we've got the King of Wands in reverse. Because this foundation is not particularly stable, there's going to need to be some adjustments made on your part. And I think that you have been putting these things into practice. But that the outcome of this is going to be much more reliant upon you individually than this framework within which you have been existing, represented by that Eight of Pentacles. Remember, I said this could be a place that you've lived for a long time. It can represent multiple streams of income. It can represent a job that you have held for a very long time and perhaps worked your way up through a company. So those are just some examples, because this is a general reading and I want everyone to understand how it might apply to them specifically. And Aries, the final outcome card for your reading this week is the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is showing up in the reverse. So we do have two clergymen here who confer with the Hierophant. There's a lot of hierarchy within certain religious structures, such that the high priest, the Hierophant, acts as the intermediary between the general public and the higher power. He is the voice box of that higher power. But there's also a lot of power structures within the church. So we have the clergy here who are assistants to this powerful religious leader. And then the messages kind of filter through to the general public and the constituents of that particular religious organization. And this card showing up in the reverse, hierarchy is not your friend in this situation. And if people perceive that your complaints are rooted in any of these baser emotions that we get from the non-elevated Queen of Wands energy, that's what it is when the court cards show up in reverse like this. Is it's kind of like the baser elements of that particular court card. And the elemental energies associated therein. So you might try to go above the person's head, but if you, something about the way that you're doing it kind of comes off as catty or gossipy, or kind of socially manipulative, not in the way that you would see with the Queen of Swords reversed now, but kind of trying to make people look bad, right? That's kind of what we see with the Queen of Wands in reverse. So the advice that I have for you is definitely keep your records, keep your paper trail intact, do take notes on what's going on. If you're in a situation where you feel like you need to make recordings of this person, I think that you should do that. But what you should do is create an archive and not try to, every time something happens, run to that higher up, try to go up the chain of command. I don't necessarily think that it's going to be seen the way that you're hoping it will, because you're going to have victory in this situation. And I don't see you walking away. It's possible that it's something like getting promoted out of that particular office, or that somebody maybe even gets it together. And in that case, it would be even more important that you keep the record, but that you not be necessarily reminding that person of their weaker moments when they have finally gotten it together. So that is my advice for you in this particular situation, Aries. I do hope that it is helpful. So that's going to conclude the Aries reading for this week, and I will be going after this live stream over to the member side of the channel to do some crystal scrying with this beautiful piece of tiger iron hematite. It's got some little fibers of tiger's eye in it. If that interests you, you're cordially invited, but your presence here on the channel is greatly appreciated, no matter what form it takes. So now we're going to move on to the sign of Leo. And you can watch for sun, moon, rising. If you have a particular house that you're focusing on, fifth house would be romance, seventh house would be partnerships, fourth house would be home and family. You can also watch for different placements like that. And Leo, if you would like to go ahead and set your intention for the reading, and allow any ideas that you have about what you'd like to cover in the reading to float gently up to the forefront of your thoughts, and just wait there patiently while I shuffle the cards. Now, if these are things that you find stressful or troublesome, I invite you to breathe gently through that energy. So as you inhale, draw in the divine white light of Source, and then as you exhale, anywhere you feel that tension, that stress, even physical discomfort, just release that with that exhale, if you would. And now I'm going to write down your timestamp. Okay. And we can start here in the past. So Leo, what we have in the past for you is the Nine of Pentacles. We have another 9 coming out that's very positive as well, and I'll cover that in just a moment. But this Nine of Pentacles is about financial stability and freedom, specifically. We have this independent person here in the forefront of the card, their castle here in the background, this plentiful harvest of these 9 pentacles growing on these vines alongside perhaps some bundles of grapes, some of which look like skulls, which is more thematic than anything else in this deck. The skulls in this deck are not necessarily indicators of death. It's more like memento mori, reminding us that our time here is limited, so we should enjoy it. Here in the current situation, we have the Queen of Cups. And the Queen of Cups can be somebody who takes great care of others, but does not necessarily express their own emotional states to others. The Queen of Cups can be somebody who's exceedingly well hydrated. She's got these really cute little puppy dog shoes on. I love the shoes in this deck. I really want some of those shoes that look like alligators. There's a lot of owls in this deck. So there's a huge owl behind her. She's hiding this huge intellect. She has these perfect little stone children on either side who are helping to keep that owl captive. And we do see some waves in the background. Queen of Cups is water of water energy. So perhaps you also have some water energy in your chart, Leo. You would be showing up at this time as somebody who is really nurturing toward others, but not necessarily expressing your own wants and needs very vocally at this time. And the crossing card for the significator is the Nine of Cups, which is an overwhelmingly positive card. This is wish fulfillment. We do see the 9 cups here. We see this pumpkin that's been cut open and is being prepared to be roasted, perhaps, or maybe to make into another nice hat like this one, with the beautiful squash blossom feather kind of hanging off the side. We do have a lot of bats here on this card as well. Bats in certain cultures mean good fortune. I believe in Chinese the word bat is a homonym for luck or something like that. But I have to look that up. I don't want to just say that and then not. Okay. The Chinese word for bat is fu, which is pronounced the same as the word for good fortune. So I did remember that properly. I don't like to just say those things and then not verify. I've passed on much too much misinformation in my life. Not in the readings, I hope. But I've gotten very adamant now that we all have computers in our pockets. There's really no reason to ever say anything that's not correct or based in reality. So now we're going to look at the Imam Silai. And the Imam Silai is down here at the bottom below the significator. It represents all of the foundations and origins upon which the goal or destiny up here in the midheaven will be built. So you want to make sure that the Imam Silai is providing a very good, strong foundation for what will eventually be occurring. And in this case, we have the Wheel of Fortune. So much like the World card, we see the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac, including yourself, Leo, down here in the corner, fixed fire sign energy. The wheel is about the way that fortune turns. Sometimes are good and sometimes are bad. I always think of it more like a roller coaster than a wheel, but things are cyclical. So that's why it's a wheel and not just a roller coaster. A roller coaster, however, is on a track, and so it is also cyclical. Maybe you're looking at it from above, and it looks like a wheel. Anyway, so at this time, you could be experiencing a turn for the better in your fortune, Leo. We do see that 9 of Pentacles, that 9 of Cups. So you've come from a place already of plenty and wish fulfillment. So we have that wish fulfillment going on in conjunction with that Wheel of Fortune, that turn for the better. From your perspective, Leo, we have the Star card. Now, the star is associated with your opposite sign of Aquarius. So it can have to do with social groups, social media. It could be you blowing up on social media for sure. Not always, though. And is also associated with your hopes and dreams being fulfilled. So we do see quite a bit of that coming together for you in the current situation, Leo. Now, if you are not seeing this yet in your immediate environment, because remember, the current situation from your perspective, having the Star card there
shows us that you are going to be seeing this being fulfilled. Otherwise, I would say that, oh, you're just not seeing it yet. So if you're not seeing it yet, it means that this reading might, you might need to catch up a bit to the reading, if that makes sense. Not like you haven't been running hard enough or fast enough, only that you will know when it's fulfilled. Here, from an outsider's perspective, looking in on your situation, Leo, we have the Seven of Wands. Isn't that always so with the haters all around you? The owl attacking, very much how this Queen of Cups, we see that these children are not just holding that owl down and keeping it from flying away, but that the owl is also tied to the forehead of the Queen of Cups, showing that, containment of the psyche. And here we see this owl again. In this case, it's captured this good fortune and is headed for this figure on the Seven of Wands, almost like it might be trying to dive bomb them. And you could be seeing that owl as perhaps your own psyche trying to attack you and devour your good fortune. The Seven of Wands is being at a vantage point. But because you're up on that vantage point, you're also a target. So others might be seeing that as the case for you. Now, whether or not too many of them are trying to capitalize on that, people might see that you're in that position, but still be sympathetic to you, is what I'm trying to say. So here in the future, we do have a very positive card. And even when the Sun card comes out reversed, it's still a very good card. Excuse me. Sometimes when the Sun comes out reversed like this in the future, it can mean that you do not yet see the mechanism by which this success is going to come to pass. You might already see that these things are coming to pass, but you might not yet fully see how it's going to look in the future, which is fine. And I'm here to help with that. But even if you're very psychic, you can't know everything about everything all the time. And I do believe that sometimes things are kept hidden for our own best interest also. Now we're going to look at your hopes and fears. So in the hopes and fears position, we have the Lover's card in the reverse. The Lover's card can be about love relationships, and this certainly could be fear of a breakup or fear of losing touch with a loved one. But the Lover's card can also be about choices. The Lover's card is associated with the astrological sign of Gemini and can be about that duality as well. And so can be associated with choice in a very similar way as the Two of Swords, which we haven't seen yet. Interesting. So you might be afraid that you're not going to get a choice in this matter, that you're not going to be given the opportunity to pick which path you want. Now here in the midheaven position, we have a very positive card in this position. And overall, Leo, I think your cards have been overwhelmingly positive this week.
I always feel a little weird about giving like really good Leo readings because I'm a Leo sun sign, but I'm honestly just reading the cards as they come out. I don't stack the deck or anything.
So this is going to be based on this Wheel of Fortune and fortune turning in your favor. And because of that, Leo, you're going to see success. We do have this card here. We've got the Sun card here that we're seeing celebration. We're seeing achievement. The Four of Wands can be purchasing property. It can also be establishing something. It can be getting married. So whatever that is for you, the Four of Wands represents establishment, celebration, and the potential for union, such as marriage. The final outcome for your reading this week, Leo, we have the Empress card in the reverse. The Empress is a passive creative energy and represents, very similarly to the Queen of Pentacles, that fertile proliferation that comes during that gestation period. So this would be creative power that comes over time and is a building kind of a process, very much like pregnancy. The Empress can be a card of pregnancy. She is associated with the planet Venus, and by proxy, then also the signs of Taurus and Libra. However, the Empress card is showing up in the reverse for you here, which is an invitation not to be overly passive in this situation, whatever that might be. Remember that from an outside person's perspective, we have this Seven of Wands. So people do perceive that you might be in a vantage point that makes you an easy target. So while these things might be very assured, while you might see them unfolding naturally, and while that might be the natural order and course of things, it is important not to just assume that things will be brought to you because you are amazing. Now, the Empress is a strong feminine energy. It's considered the divine feminine in the deck and is associated also with traditionally feminine career paths. So we do have the Queen of Cups coming out very strong in the place of the significator. And this, of course, is water of water energy. So that would be very counter to wherever the Leo energy is in your chart, to have water in opposition to that, and water of water at that. So in this particular reading, I think there's also a warning not to hide your own motivations too much, not to be too much about still waters running deep, and not giving too much to others because you want to nurture them, but allowing them to grow and thrive on their own, Leo. So that is going to be the reading for you this week.
Hi, Liz. It's good to see you. And it is my pleasure to give all of you very pleasant dreams. I am glad to hear that the videos are effective for doing that. And I hope you enjoy the water signs video.
So now we are going to move on to the sign of Sagittarius.
going, after this reading is concluded, over to the members side of the channel to do some crystal scrying. So if that interests you, you're cordially invited. But your presence here on the channel is greatly appreciated, no matter what form it takes.
So Sagittarius, if you would like to go ahead.
Oh, hi Maria, thank you for coming.
And set your intention for the reading. Allow any issues you'd like to cover over the course of the reading to rise up into the forefront of your thoughts, and wait there patiently while I shuffle the cards. And if there are any things about this that are stressful for you, or that you are starting to feel anxious about, I invite you to gently breathe through that energy. As you inhale, draw in the divine white light of Source. And as you exhale, just release any of that tension, any stress, any discomfort that you're feeling at this time. It will return to Source, and it will be transmuted. All right, so there's a very strong start to your reading so far, Sagittarius, and I will talk about that momentarily. Have to write down your timestamp. Okay. So, Sagittarius, I do have to tell you that in the place of the significator in the crossing card, we have two major arcana cards. And the temperance card, which is associated with the sign of Sagittarius, is coming out in your reading this week in the place of the significator. So you're showing up very strongly in your reading this week, Sagittarius. But before we get to that, let's start in the past. And in the past, we have the Seven of Swords. Now you can see that this person is making off with all of these swords. And the swords have these bats on the hilt. That can be good fortune. All of these people in these huts or tents over here have left their swords, their good fortune, out where anybody can take it. And this person is taking advantage of that. Now, we do have little skull and crossbones on the flags of those huts. So you could read a possible implication into this of one's evil deeds bringing about one's own demise. You could read something into it about not leaving your things out where they can be picked up by other people. But really, the Seven of Swords is mostly about betrayal, backstabbing, and possibly people taking advantage of you, your finances, or your energies. And there's not really a lot tied up in that about what one deserves or why one might have these things happen to them. Not victim blaming, certainly. This is showing up in the upright in the past. So there might be a situation for you, Sagittarius, where somebody has done something deceptive or betrayed you in some way that you have not yet discovered. There might be an active betrayal going on. But that isn't necessarily the case. And it really depends on the context. We're going to have to look at the rest of the cards to figure out more about what could be going on. As I mentioned, your card in the Major Arcana is coming out here in the place of the significator. And in this particular reading, I would see the Temperance card as Sagittarius showing up well hydrated and unbothered at all times. There is the practice involved in allowing this cloud, this water tornado, to traverse between these two halves of the pumpkin. This balancing act, kind of on the eye of that jack-o'-lantern, kind of on the lip. There's a lot of balance required there. We do have this angel who has bat wings, in fact, carrying through that good fortune. We see one owl up here. The rest of these are bats, but this up here is an owl. So good fortune, but also with a hint of intellect. We see the sun in a transitional state here in the background. So the balance of darkness and light that one sees in these liminal hours of the day, the golden hour, if you will. I don't remember what it is called at dawn, but I know at dusk it's called the golden hour because of the way that everything is lit so beautifully. But dawn has a very similar effect. Crossing this card, we have the Hanged Man. And the Hanged Man is about being in stasis, taking a break. Here we see that the owl is not in flight. The owl is resting. The intellect, the psyche, is taking a break. There can be some elements of self-sacrifice to the Hanged Man. And there can also be some elements of sacrificing parts of the self for greater enlightenment. Now, the Hanged Man is elemental water and is also associated with the planet of Neptune, and can be associated with Pisces through that, but is mostly the element of water and then also the planet Neptune. Now, it's interesting that the Hanged Man is coming out as the crossing card, because with this Temperance card, we see that you don't really see there being that much of a problem. Even if you are aware of this, that you aren't necessarily bothered by it. You don't seem particularly bothered by it. You're just kind of taking a wait and see attitude. But I would be careful here that there's not too much self-sacrifice going on. What we see down in the MMCLI in your reading this week, Sagittarius. So the MMCLI is all of the foundations and origins of what you're going to see above the significator with the midheaven, where we look at the goal and destiny. And what we have in the MMCLI is the Justice card in the reverse. So there is the potential for this person to be getting away with whatever this deception is with the Seven of Swords. The Justice card does have some elements of balance, much like the Temperance card. And the temptation, of course, I know in my own life, is to avoid conflict, to not instigate or push things that don't necessarily need to be pushed. But I would keep an eye on this one. Here in your perspective, we have the Page of Swords. So the Page of Swords is somebody who is finding out things, gathering information. And this could be information about this situation. This can be collecting documents for a court case, if that is what is going on in this situation for you. And the Page of Swords is not one of the more contentious among the sword court cards. The Page of Swords is somebody, this is earth of air energy, so very precocious intellect, could be very young emotionally or in general, because the swords don't really speak on emotion, rather. But is more concerned with finding out information. And the card is showing up in the upright too. When the card is in the reverse, that can be spying or espionage. But because this card is showing up in the upright, I genuinely think that you are gathering information and you're doing so in a very objective way. From the outside looking in, we have the Five of Swords, and this card is also in the upright. Now, the Five of Swords is a little bit different from the Seven of Swords, a little bit different from the Five of Wands. We're looking at somebody who has gained a victory, but it is at the cost of any future with the other parties involved. They are gone now. They're gone far away, either through conquest or through alienation because of this conflict. So it's not necessarily a bad card, but this being the outside person's perspective on the situation, and especially if they are the one who feels like they need to do something to take advantage of you, they might really feel backed into a corner about it, and that one of you is going to need to be the victor in this situation. They could be feeling very contentious about it, is what I'm saying. And they will fight for it. Here in the future, we do have the Six of Swords. Now, the Six of Swords is about travel, a journey. It can be exodus. We often see the Six of Swords that they are leaving for the horizon. But here we get a better idea of where they're heading. The swords piercing the boat, that shows that it is a temporary situation. This is a transient situation. There's a lot of mobility in it, but there's not a lot of permanence, which can be good, especially in cases where you are trying to get away from something like this, trying to get away from these very contentious swords that we have with the Five and Seven of Swords. Here in the Hopes and Fears, we have the Strength card reversed. Now, this is the card of your fellow fire sign, Leo. This would be fixed fire energy. So the Strength card can be about your powers of persuasion. It can be about physical strength. It can be about endurance and stamina. We see that this person, it's upright like an 8, but typically this is a lemniscate, which represents infinity. So they have this infinite source of energy that they are pulling from. much like the sun, which is Leo's ruling planet. We also have this kind of shadowy figure here, and we have this tree figure here. That could be seen as your ancestors and the people who have come before you, um, lending their strength, supplementing your strength with theirs. Now, because that card is showing up in the reverse, you might be finding out things about this situation that lead you to believe that you're not going to have the resources that you will need strength wise, energy wise. This would not necessarily be the financial resources required. This would be more like the um, energy required to deal with a situation. And you might be finding out more things about this situation that make you feel like it's not worth your energy, is what it seems like. So, here in the midheaven, this is going to be the result of what happens here in the current situation with the Imam Silai, where we have justice reversed. We have in the midheaven the Five of Pentacles reversed. Now, this is a very interesting card to get in the reverse because what we have is, of course, these two people who are in a place of scarcity, in a place of extreme lack. That is what the Five of Pentacles is about. And I think that it showing up in the reverse in the midheaven, the goal or destiny position, shows that there's the potential for a very close call for you, Sagittarius.
Oh my goodness. Well, I do hope this reading helps you, Maria, and I'll try to give the best reading I can of the cards.
We do still have the bat of fortune here, and that bat is holding these pentacles. And if these people had more strength, they would be able to reach up and take those. The final outcome for your reading this week, Sagittarius. We have the Knight of Cups, and he is showing up in the reverse. Now, this Knight of Cups is also showing up in opposition to the Five of Swords, where we were looking at the other person's point of view on the situation. And the Knight of Cups is about trusting your heart and your gut. But when the Knight of Cups shows up in the reverse like this, and in the final outcome position, this is going to be a warning not to get overly emotionally involved in this situation. Just as you have been doing, remaining moisturized and unbothered, having a wait and see attitude, even where we have this Page of Swords showing up. The Page of Swords is a very logically minded energy and is taking that information that's out in the air and bringing it down and making it concrete. So we're collecting the truth with the Page of Swords. So I would caution you in this situation, really do whatever you have to do to take your emotions completely out of it. And just don't even let that factor into it. Look at what you need to do and follow it logically. We just have a lot of swords here. You know, Five of Swords, Six of Swords, Seven of Swords, the Justice card, the Page of Swords. So that involves logic, and whether or not that other person is emotionally invested is none of your business.
So that is going to conclude the Sagittarius reading for this week. I want to say thank you, 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 thank you to all of you who have showed up for the live stream. I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you who watch these videos later. I will leave the timestamps in the description. I do so greatly appreciate your support, your likes, your shares, your subscriptions, your comments, and I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon.